It's Edexcel GCSE Maths Foundation Calculator Paper 2 from November 2023. Let's get straight into it. Question 1. Write down two factors of 18. Factors just means what numbers can we divide by without leaving a remainder. So 1 would go into any number and 18 would divide by itself, so 1 and 18 would be fine. Question 2. Write 0.9 as a fraction. You can do this on your calculator, but this is in my tenths column, so that would be 9 over 10. Question 3. Change 7 meters to centimetres. How many meters are there in 1 meter? There's 100 centimetres. So we're trying to find 7 meters. So that means we need to times by 7 there, and we're going to times by 7 there. 100 times by 7 would be 700, so 700 centimetres. Question 4. Write down a square number that is between 10 and 50. Square numbers are just numbers that when you multiply them by themselves, that's a result. So 2 squared would be 2 times 2, which is 4. 3 squared would be 9. 4 squared is 16, 25, and 36. So 16 would be fine. You could have 25, 36, or 49 as well. Question 5. Work out 50% of 240. 50% is the same as a half, or if you're finding 50%, you just need to divide by 2. 24 divided by 2 is 12, and we need one more 0, so 120. Question 6. Lydia works for 4 hours. She's paid £50. How much is Lydia paid per hour? So we need to do the amount that she's paid divided by the amount of hours that she's working. We're doing 50 divided by 4. You can just half it twice. 50 divided by 2 is 25. Half that again, you get £12.50. Question 7. Here is a 3D shape. Write down the name of this 3D shape. So this is going to be a cone. Part B. In the space below, draw a sketch of a triangular prism. We need to draw a triangle first, and a prism just means it's the same shape that's being repeated all the way through. So we're going to have a triangle at the back as well. So we're just going to connect both of those triangles up. That would be okay. Question 8. Curtis needs to buy some items for his sports club. Curtis needs to buy 5 footballs, and the footballs are £9.50. So we're doing 5 times by £9.50 for that one. That's 47.5. 6 hockey sticks. And the hockey sticks are £30 for 2. So that means we're going to need 3 lots of these because 2 times by 3 gives us 6. So 30 multiplied by 3, which would give us 90. 2 cricket bats. Cricket bats are £23 each, so that'd just be 23 times by 2, which is 46. And 4 tennis balls, and it's £5 for 4, so just £5. Curtis has £200 to spend. Show that Curtis can buy all the items that he needs. Let's add up all of these. So we're going to add up 47.5, add 90, add 46, add 5, and hopefully it's less than 200. So 47.5 plus 90 plus 46 plus 5, which gives us 188.5. We can see this is smaller than 200, so we can write £188.50 is smaller than 200. Therefore, Curtis can buy everything he needs. Question 9. Harris is buying a shirt and a tie. He has a choice of 3 colours of shirt and a choice of 3 styles of tie. Harris is going to choose 1 shirt and 1 tie. List all the possible combinations Harris can choose. So just before we answer this question, we've got 3 options in our first column and we've got 3 options in our second column. So that means altogether we should end up with 9 options. I'm going to do all of the combinations with white shirt first. So it'd be W and P, W and S, and W and C. So that's that one done. Then we're going to do the same thing with blue. So B and P, B and S, B and C. And same thing with grey. So G and P, G and S, and G and C. And you can see we've got 9 combinations altogether. Question 10. There are 24 red counters and 40 blue counters in a bag. So I'm going to write red to blue is 24 to 40. Write down the ratio of the number of red counters to the number of blue counters in the bag. Give your ratio in its simplest form. So we've already wrote it in a ratio. We just need to simplify it. What's the largest number that goes into 24 and 40? If you don't get the largest number, you can just choose to do any, but you might have to simplify it a few more times. So I can see both of these divide by 8. So I'm going to do 24 divided by 8, which is 3, and 40 divided by 8, which is 5. These don't have a common factor, so you can't simplify this further. The final answer should be 3 to 5. Question 11. Rima is going to roll a fair 6-sided dice. Choose the word that best describes the probability that the dice will land on the number 3. So we want to find the amount of successes that we could have, and that's 1 because there's only 1 face that has the number 3, and there's 6 sides on a dice, 6 faces, so it's going to be 1 out of 6. It's not going to be impossible because it can happen, but it's going to be unlikely because it's not evens. Evens would be 3, 6, or 50%. Part B, choose the word that best describes the probability that the dice will land on an odd number. So how many odd numbers are there on a dice? You have 1, 3, and 5. So that's 3 options altogether out of a possible 6. That's the same as a half and half would be the same as 50% or evens. You have an even chance of getting it. Question 12. A car travels at an average speed of 37 miles per hour for 3 hours. Work out the distance the car travels in the 3 hours. So if I write 1 hour, they're traveling 30 miles. We want to scale this up so that we have 3 hours. So all we need to do is multiply by 3 there, and we're multiplying by 3 there. So we're just doing 37 multiplied by 3, which gives us 111 miles. Question 13. Milo is trying to find the area of this rectangle. He writes, the area is 400 centimeters squared because 5 times by 4 times by 5 times by 4 equals 400. Explain what is wrong with Milo's method. How do you work out areas of rectangles? All you need to do is multiply the base by the height. So here the base is 5 and the height would be 4. So 5 times by 4 would be 20. And the units for that would be centimetres squared. So he's got the units correct, but he's made a mistake. He's multiplied all of these together. So we can just write, he shouldn't have multiplied all of them together. Anya works out the area of a shape. Her answer is 86 centimetres. Explain why her answer cannot be fully correct. So in the previous question, we saw that the units for area is centimetre squared. Here, she's put the area is in centimetres. So we can't have areas in centimetres. That could only be in length. So we just write, Anya should have used centimetre squared as the unit is currently for length. Question 14. 3 kilograms of flour equals 4 pound and 5. So I'm just going to write this in equation. So I've got 3F is equal to 4 pound and 5. 5 kilograms of flour and 6 kilograms of sugar costs £11.85. So I can write 5F plus 6S is equal to £11.85. Work out the cost of 2 kilograms of flour and 5 kilograms of sugar. So we're trying to find 2F plus 5S. So we'll solve all of these one by one. So the first one, I've got F that's been multiplied by 3. So I need to divide by 3 on both sides to find the value of 1 kilogram of flour. So 4.05 divided by 3, which is £1.35. I'm going to use this value of F and I'm going to substitute it into here, and that'll allow me to find the value of 1 kilogram of sugar. So now I've got 5 multiplied by 1 kilogram of F costs £1.35. So I've just swapped that F with that value, plus 6S, the S is what we're trying to find, is equal to £11.85. Let's just clean up this bit. So this just means 5 multiplied by £1.35, and that's £6.75. So £6.75 plus 6S is equal to £11.85. What's happening to this S? It's been multiplied by 6, and then we're adding £6.75 to it. So we need to take away this £6.75 first. So I'm going to take away £6.75 from there. I'll take £6.75 from there. That will cancel out and leave me with 6S on the left hand side, and 11.85 minus 6.75 would give me 5.1. S has been multiplied by 6, so I divide by 6. Doing S is equal to 5.1 over 6, which is 0.85. So I've got my value of S and I've got my value of F. I need to substitute both of those into here and I can get my final answer. Now that I've got my values of F, my kilogram of flour, and 1 kilogram of sugar, I can substitute both of those into here. So I'm doing 2 lots of £1.35, the amount it costs for 1 kilogram of flour, plus 5 lots of 0.85, the amount it costs for 1 kilogram of sugar. Just type all of that in. So I've got 2 times by £1.35 plus 5 times by 0.85. That's £6.95. Question 15. Martha and Nabil share £120. Martha gets 72% of the money. She spends 30% of the money she gets. How much money does Martha have left? Let's first work out how much Martha gets originally. So we're trying to find 70% of 20. So the quick way to do this is to convert this into a decimal. How do we convert percentages into decimals? All we need to do is divide it by 100 because percentages are out of 100. So I'm doing 72 divided by 100, which is 0.72. So I multiply my original number by, this is called a decimal multiplier, 0.72, and that will tell me what 72% is. 120 multiplied by 0.72, which is £86.40. She spends 30% of this, but we're trying to find how much money she has left. So instead of finding 30% and taking it away from this, we could just find out how much she has left. So percentages are out of 100. So the amount that she's going to have left is 100 take away 30 that would be 70%. She'll have 70% remaining. So we're going to do 86.4 times by 70% as a decimal, which would be 0.7. So 86.4 times by 0.7, which is 60.48. 6.4 times 0.7, 60.48. Question 16. Question 16. 160 people were asked to choose their favourite type of book. They each chose from romance or adventure, horror or thriller. 85 of these people were children and the rest were adults. You can see from the information that they've given me, they've told me a favourite type of book or whether the people were either children or adults. That means there's two variables and we're going to be using a two-way table for this. I've created a little table here and I'm going to fill it out with the information that I've got so far. So they've told me 160 people were asked. So that means in my total, I'm going to have 160 altogether. It says favourite type of book will be romance or adventure or horror or thriller. So I'm going to write romance, adventure, horror, and thriller. So that's those two lines done. 85 of these people were children and the rest were adults. So we have children and we have adults. And it tells us 85 were children, so we could put 85 here. And I've got one gap here, so whenever I see one gap, I can fill that piece of information in. So to find this piece of information, all I need to do, 160, take away 85, which would be 75. So that's that bit done. 19 of the 33 people who chose romance were children. So I'm going to put 33 in my total for romance, and 19 were children, so I can put 19 here. 33 take away 19 would be 14, and you can just check it, 19 and 14 does give you 33. That's that line done. 34 of the 76 people who chose adventure were adults. So I'm going to put 76 as my total for adventure, and 34 were adults. So I can do 76 take away 34, that would be 42 to find my children. 7 adults chose thriller. So I'm going to go to thriller and I put 7 over here. So that's that one done. The number of children who chose thriller was the same as the number of adults who chose horror. That's telling me that this number will be the same as this number. I can see I've got one gap here, so I could find that missing piece of information. I'm going to add up these three, and then I'll take it away from 75. So I'll just do 75, take away 14, take away 34, take away 7, which gives me 20. So this number is 20, and this number will also be 20. I've also got one gap here, so I can find this missing number. I'm going to do 85, take away all of these. That gives me 4. The total for horror would be 24. The total for thriller would be 27. One way you can check it, you can add up all of these. It should give you 85. Those would add up to make 75, and do the same thing across, and that would check your answer. Work out the total number of people who chose horror. So total for horror is 24. My answer would be 24. Question 17. Here are the heights in centimetres of 16 sunflowers. Show this information in a stem and leaf diagram. First thing I need to consider is what will my key look like. I've got numbers that start from 160 and they go all the way up to 197. I think that's the largest one. But the first two digits are either going to be 16, 17, 18 or 19. And then we've got another digit after that. For my key, I'm going to choose this 168. I can choose any number, but I'm going to write 16 with a line, and then an 8 means 168. And now I just need to put all of these into the stem and leaf diagram. I'm going to start with 16. I've got 16, 17, 18, and 19 as the starting of the numbers. So I'm going to find all of the numbers that start with a 16, and then I'll order them. So that one, that one, that one, and there's no more that start with a 16. So I just need to order the 0, the 2, and the 8. So I'm going to write 0, 2, and 8, and that's those done. Next, I'm going to look for the ones that start with 17. So I've got that one, and that's all of them. I just need to order them. So I can see I've got 2, 2, 3, 7, and 8. 2, 2, 3, 7, and 8. So that's those done. Next, I've got 18, the ones that start with 18. So that'd be that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. So I've got 0, 0, 3, 4, 6, and 8. 0, 0, 3, 4, 6, and 8. Last, I've just got these two, which start with 19. So I'll have 1 and I'll have 7. One way you could check it, just make sure that they're going up in ascending order 0, 2, and 8, 2, 2, 3, 7, 8, 0, 0, 3, 4, 6, 8, and 1 and 7. So that looks correct. And just check, do I have all 16? So I have 3 there, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I've correctly put 16 pieces of information into there. Question 18. Work out this calculation and give your answer as a decimal. Write down all the figures on your calculator display. All this is testing you on, can you type something correctly into your calculator? So I've pressed the fraction button, which is over here, and I've got 9.8 plus 6.8 divided by 4.2 multiplied by 2.1. My calculator just gives it to 4 decimal places, but yours might give it to more. So just write whatever your calculator says. Mine would be 1.8821. 1.8821. Part B, write your answer to part A corrected 2 decimal places. I'll just rewrite it out. 1.8821. For decimal places, if I'm rounding to decimal places, I count from my decimal point 1, 2. Can draw my line there. Looking at this 2, this is my decider whether I'm rounding up or down. If it's 4 or below, I'm going to be rounding down. It's going to stay the same. So it's going to be 1.88. Question 19. The diagram shows a quadrilateral ABDE and an equilateral triangle BCD. So this is telling us 2 things. Angles in a quadrilateral will add up to 360 degrees and angles in a triangle add up to 180. Because it's an equilateral triangle, all of the angles are going to be equal. So if I divide 180 by 3, that's telling me all of these will be 60. That's my equilateral triangle. I'll just label all of these as 60. That's 60, that's 60, and that's 60. CB is parallel to DE. So this line, CB, is parallel to that line. And AED is equal to 132. That's already on. Work out the size of the angle marked X. So we're trying to find this angle here. You must give a reason for each stage of your working. So first thing that I've done is I've put 60 on all of my angles in the equilateral triangle. So I'll just write that down. So I'm going to write B, D, and C in triangle all equal 60 degrees as angles in a triangle add to 180. So that's my first step. The second thing that I can see, if I just extend these lines so you can see it a little bit more clearly, I've got 2 parallel lines. So that means I need to think about my parallel lines rules. If I put my head on my right shoulder, I can see the diagram the way I normally see parallel lines. Normally you see the diagrams like this. So if you put your head on your right shoulder, it makes it a little bit easier to see. And one of the rules that I can see is that these are going to be co-interior because I've got a C shape going on here. So that's telling me all of this angle and all of this angle will add up to 180. So I'm going to find this angle first. I'll do 180 minus 60 and minus that 60, which gives me 60. So this angle will also be 60. So the way I would write it is EDB, E to D to B, this angle over here, EDB, is equal to 60 degrees as co-interior angles add to 180. I'm trying to find this angle X, and remember we've got a quadrilateral going on over here. That means all of these angles inside this quadrilateral would add up to 360. I've already got 3 of the angles, I just need to find this missing one. So we're trying to find EAB, and that would be equal to 360 minus 132 minus 90 and minus 60. That's equal to 78. So the angle that we're trying to find is 78. We just need to write the rule that we used here. So angles in a quadrilateral 4-sided shape add to 360 degrees. Question 20. Complete the table of values for y equals x squared minus x minus 2. They've already put some other values in. I'm going to start with 0 and look at my positives first so that I avoid making mistakes. For 0, it's quite easy. I'm swapping this x and this x with 0. So I've got 0 squared, which is 0, minus 2. So all of that bit will cancel out. And then I'm just left with this minus 2. Easy way to do it is it will always be just this number on its own. Next, we're going to do 2. So we're doing 2 squared minus 2 minus 2 again. 2 squared is 4, minus 2. That would all cancel out, so we're left with 0. I'm going to do 3 next. So I've got 3 squared minus 3 minus 2. That's 9, take away 3, take away 2. So 9 take away 5, which is 4. Next, we'll do this negative 1. So I'm doing negative 1 squared minus negative 1, and I'm just putting them in brackets so I avoid making mistakes, minus 2. Negative 1 squared is negative 1 times negative 1, that's 1. Take away negative 1, that's going to become a positive, plus 1, minus 2. So 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 take away 2 is 0. And normally what you can see is there's a little bit of reflection going on. My reflection will be somewhere about here. You've got 4, 0 and minus 2, and then that's reflected with each other. That and that matches up, and that matches up. So normally you might see that happen a lot of the time with quadratics. Part B. On the grid, draw the graph of y equals x squared minus x minus 2 for the values x is minus 2 to 3. So we've already got a table of values for that equation. All we need to do is plot these points on. Start with -2 and 4. So -2 along the corridor of the stairs, -1 and 0, 0 and -2, 1 and -2, 2 and 0, and 3 and 4. And when you have quadratics, when the highest power is 2, you're looking for a U shape. It's called a parabola. That means it's going to go down and it'll go a little bit below these 2 points, and then it'll come back up. And there'll be a line of reflection going on over here. I'm just going to draw a smooth curve going through all of those points, and you can use the curve of your hand to help you. Sometimes it helps if you turn your paper upside down, but that's the best I can do it with this. Question 21. Describe fully the single transformation that maps triangle A onto triangle B. So the first thing you might think, it looks like it's a rotation, but if I rotate it that way, that triangle A would look like that. So that's incorrect. It's not going to be a rotation. So it must be a reflection. Let's just figure out what line it would be reflected in. I'm going to take this point, which is matching up with this point. What's the coordinate of that point? It's 1, 2, and this coordinate is -2, -1. I'll do one more. So this point in the corner, that one, I've got 1, 5, and it's become -5, -1. So you can see the x and the y values, they've changed, they've become negative, it's reversed. That's telling me the equation of that line would be y is equal to -x. The line of y equals x would look like that, going through the origin, one up and one across every time. The line of y equals -x is the opposite way. It would look like that. And if you wanted to, you could just check it, you could reflect but all of these points and just see if it matches up. All I need to do is write a reflection in the line y equals -x. Question 22. Expand and simplify 3 and in brackets 2y minus 5 plus 7 in brackets y plus 2. So I'm going to expand this bracket first, and then I'll expand this bracket. Because it wants me to simplify it, I'm going to collect all my like terms once I've done. So I'm multiplying this 3 by everything in this bracket. 3 multiplied by 2y, 3 times 2 is 6. So I've got 6y. 3 multiplied by -5, a positive times by a negative would be a negative, and 3 times 5 is 15. Then I'm going to do this 7 brackets y plus 2. 7 times y is 7y. 7 times 2 is 14. So we're going to collect up all of our y's and all of our constants, our numbers on their own. So we're collecting up this 6y and this 7y. 6 add 7 is 13. 13 lots of y. Then we've got -15 plus 14. Obviously, you can do all of this on your calculator, but if you can do it in your head, it's okay. So the final answer would be 13y minus 1. You can't collect anything else up here, so that would be your final answer. Part B, factorize fully 6x squared plus 15x. The first thing that I need to do if I'm factorizing, I'm looking for my highest common factor of my numbers and then my letters. I've got 6 and I've got 15. So what's the highest common factor of 6 and 15? That would be 3. Then I'm looking for the highest common factor of x squared and x. So that would be x. So on the outside of my bracket would be 3x. Now I need to think what goes in the inside of my bracket. What multiplies by 3x to give me 6x squared? Could also think of it as 6x squared divided by 3x. From 3 to get to 6, I need to multiply by 2. From x to get to x squared, I need to multiply by x. Then I've got 3x multiplies by something to give me 15x, or 15x divided by 3x would just be 5. One way you can check it is if you expand it out, you should get 6x squared plus 15x, and you would. Let's see, make g the subject of the formula f equals 3g plus 11. If you're trying to make something the subject, we want g on one side and everything else on the other side. So we need to think about what's happening to this g. It's being multiplied by 3 first, because it's next to this 3, and then we're adding 11. So we need to do the opposites of that. We're going to take away 11, we're undoing that at 11. So I'll take away 11 there, and I'm taking away 11 there. So f take away 11 is equal to 3g. G is being multiplied by 3, and the opposite of that is dividing by 3. If I want to write this divided by 3, I just write f minus 11 all over 3. That fraction symbol is the same as divide, is equal to g. And you can see we've got G on its own, and that's the subject, so it's correct. Question 23. Karen is organising a party for a charity. She spends £100 on food, £120 on a hall, and £80 on a DJ. Let's just think how much has she spent altogether. If we add up all of these, 120 plus 80 is 200, plus 100 is 300. So 300 is equal to my total cost. Karen sells 54 tickets for the party, and each ticket costs £7.50. Let's think how much money is coming in. We call that the revenue. That's how much money is being earned. So we're doing 54 multiplied by £7.50, which is 405. Work out the percentage profit Karen makes for the charity. To work out percentage profit, this is just asking us what's the percentage change. And to work out percentage change, we find the change divided by the original, and then we multiply that by 100. So here the change, the profit that we're making is 405 take away 300. That's my numerator, that's my change. My original number, my cost was 300, and then I need to multiply that by 100. So that simplifies, the top bit simplifies to 105 divided by 300, and if I times that by 100, I get 35%. So the percentage profit is 35%. Question 24. Andrew invests £4,500 in a savings account for 2 years. The account pays compound interest at a rate of 3.4% per year. Calculate how much Andrew has in his savings account at the end of the 2 years. For this question, we're going to be using our compound interest formula. So for that, we need our original amount multiplied by our decimal multiplier, and that's raised to the power of the amount of repetitions. Here, the original amount is 4,500. The decimal multiplier, because this is an increase, I start off with 1 plus, and I want this percentage as a decimal. If you're not sure, because it's a little bit tricky, you can just divide it by 100, but this would be 0.03, that would be for 3%, 3.4% would be 0.034. So the decimal multiplier for this is 1.034. So timesing that by 1.034 would be increasing it by 3.4%, but that's just for 1 year. We need to raise it to the power of 2 because it's for 2 years, or you could just times it by itself. Just typing that in, we have 4,500 times 1.034 to the power of 2. That gives us 4,811.202. 4,811.202. Now obviously this is pounds and pence, so we need to round this to 2 decimal places. This would round down to 20p, so 4,811 and 20p. Question 25. Solve 5x minus 14 is equal to 52 minus x. The first thing that I can see, I've got variables, I've got letters on both sides. So I want to try and collect all of my letters onto one side and all of my numbers onto the other side. Because I've got more of the x's on this side, I'm going to try and move this minus x over to this side. To undo this, I need to add x to both sides. And 5x add x gives me 6x. Then I've got minus 14 is equal to 52. I need to move this minus 14 over to the other side, so I'm going to add 14 to both sides. 6x is equal to 52 add 14, which is 66. And x is being multiplied by 6, so we divide by 6, and x would be equal to 11. You can check this. If you substitute it back in, you would get the same on both sides. So x is 11. Question 26. Chris, Debbie and Errol share some money in the ratio 3 to 4 to 2. So let's just write that down. Chris to Debbie to Errol is in the ratio 3 to 4 to 2. Debbie gets £120. Because Debbie's getting 120, we're going to write that below Debbie. And let's find out what Errol and Chris get whilst we're doing this. So what have we multiplied by to get from 4 to 120? We need to do 120 divided by 4, which is 30. So we're multiplying all of these numbers by 30. 2 times by 30 is 60, and 3 times by 30 is 90. Chris then gives some of his share to Debbie and some of his share to Errol. That means some of the money is going from there to there and there to there. It means Chris's amount is going down, Debbie's and Errol's will be going up. The money that Chris, Debbie and Errol each now have is in the ratio 2 to 5 to 3. So it's now become 2 to 5 to 3. How much money did Chris give to Errol? Let's first think, has the amount of money that we originally started with changed? We had this amount of money, but no money came in and no money left. So this amount will stay exactly the same. Let's add up all of these values. We've got 9 add 12, 21, 21 add 6, which is 270. So that means altogether, the amount of money that they're all going to have will be £270. So all we need to do is share this £270 in this ratio. We have 2, 5 and 3 parts. If we add up all of those together, 5 add 3 is 8 and 8 add 2 is 10. That means this 270 is equal to 10 parts. What would one part be worth? On the right hand side, we've divided by 10. On the left hand side, we also need to divide by 10. So that would just give us 27. So we can work out each of these. 2 times by 27 is 54. 5 times by 27 is 135. And 3 times by 27 is 81. We're trying to find out how much Chris gave to Errol. So we're looking for the amount that went from there to there. We're looking for the amount that this went up. So from 60 to 81, or 81 take away 60, that gives me 21. So Errol's went up by 21. Question 27. The bearing of port B from port A is 147. Whenever it says from, that means that's where we're starting from. So I'm going to start at port A, and I'll draw a north line. And if I travel 147 degrees, which is about a straight line, I'll just draw it like that for now, I will end up at port B, which is over here. I'm also going to draw a north line there. Remember, that angle is 147. Work out the bearing of port A from port B. So we're trying to start at port B, and remember, bearings are going in a clockwise direction, starting from north. So we're going to go around from B back to A. That's the angle that we're trying to find. We've got two north lines, and because they're both in the same direction, we've got this line going through them, these are parallel to each other. That means we've got co-interior angles here. We can find this angle by doing 180, take away 147, which is 33. So this angle is 33. And you can see we've got angles around a point. So angles around a point add up to 360. We're going to take away 33 from there. That would give us 327 degrees. Question 28. The diagram shows an empty tank in the shape of a cylinder. The cylinder has a radius of 15 centimetres and a height of 43 centimetres. Water flows into the tank at a rate of 0.47 litres per minute. Calculate the number of minutes it will take to completely fill the tank. Give your answer correct to the nearest minute. The first thing that I need to figure out is what is the volume of the cylinder? How much liquid could I fill this cylinder with? So the formula for volume, because this is a prism, it's the same shape, it's a circle being repeated all the way through, is the area of this cross section. So we need the area of a circle. Cherry pie delicious and apple pies are 2, so pi r squared, multiplied by the height or the depth. That would be height. So I just need to substitute my values into here. So that's equal to pi multiplied by the radius, which is 15 squared, multiplied by my height, which is 43. If I type this in, I have 43 times by 15 squared, which is 225, so 9675 pi. I need to remember that this is in centimetres cubed. How could I convert centimetres cubed into litres? 9,675 pi centimetre cubed is the same as 9,675 pi millilitres. But because water is flowing in litres, I need to convert this into litres as well. So how many litres are there in 1 litre? There's 1,000. So 1 litre is equal to 1,000 millilitres. So I need to convert from millilitres into litres. I'm dividing by 1,000. To divide this by 1,000, I'm going to move my decimal point 3 places. So this is the same as 9.675 pi, and this is now in litres. Because I've got it in litres, I can look at how much water is flowing in and just divide this by this. So 9.67 pi divided by 0.47. This will tell me in minutes how long it's taken. So 9.675 pi divided by 0.47 gives me 64.67. This is in minutes. The question wants me to round it to the nearest minute, so I need to look after my decimal point. This 6 is telling me that I need to round up to 65, so it would be 65 minutes that it takes to fill that up. Question 29. ABC is a right angled triangle. Calculate the length of AB, give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. I'm trying to find a length, and I have a right angle triangle, and I have a side and an angle, so that means I'm going to be using some trig here. I'm trying to find this side over here, AB. First thing I'll do is I'll label my sides. The side opposite the right angle is my hypotenuse, the longest side. The side opposite the angle is opposite, The side that's remaining is adjacent. And whenever you're finding sides, you look at the side that you're given and the side that you're trying to find. So which of these from Tutor are we going to be using? Which of these have O and A? That would be tan. So that's tan of theta, tan of the angle, tan of 49 is equal to opposite over adjacent. Opposite is the one we're trying to find, so I'll label that as x over 28. Just need to solve this equation now. X is being divided by 28, so I need to multiply by 28. So 28 tan 49. Typing that in gives me 32.2103. It wants it to 3 significant figures, so I need to count 1, 2, 3, and I'm rounding between this 2 and this 1. The 1 is the decider, and it's going to be rounding down to 32.2. Question 30. Solve the simultaneous equations. We have 2 equations here, and we're trying to solve them at the same time. We're trying to find the value of the x and the y. The first thing that I'm trying to look for is the same number before the x or the y. It doesn't matter what the sign is, I just need the same number. So either I can make the x's the same or I can make the y's the same. I think to do this one, I would rather make the y's the same because all I would need to do is multiply this top equation by 3. If I make the x's the same, I need to multiply both of them. So I'm multiplying everything in this first equation by 3. 3x times by 3 is 9x. Y times by 3 is 3y. And you can see it matches up with that 3y. And negative 4.5 times by 3, do that with a calculator, times 3, which is minus 13.5. I rewrite that out just below. At this stage, either I can choose to add these 2 equations or I can subtract them from each other. I want to try and remove one of the variables. If I added them together, this 3y add this 3y would give me 6y. So I don't want to add them. I'm going to have to take them away. So I'm doing the top one minus the bottom one. 9x take away 4x is 5x, and this 3y take away 3y would cancel out, so that disappears. Then I've got negative 13.5 take away negative 3.5. So negative 13.5 minus negative 3.5, which gives me negative 10. So x is being multiplied by 5, and it gives me negative 10. So I need to divide by 5. X would be equal to negative 2. Now that I've got the value of one of the variables, I've got the value of x, I'm going to look for my easiest equation on the page. I'm going to choose this one because it's got my smallest variables, and I'll substitute it into here. And then I just need to find out what y is. So I've got 3 multiplied by negative 2, because we know where it is now, plus y is equal to negative 4.5. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, plus y is equal to negative 4.5. And then to move this negative 6 over to the other side, I need to add 6 to both sides. So y is equal to, I'll do it on my calculator, y minus 4.5 plus 6, which is 1.5. I've got both of my values, x is negative 2 and y is 1.5. Could check this by substituting both of them in. I would probably substitute it into the second equation. I'd rather choose to substitute it into the second equation rather than the first equation, just in case I made a mistake with that first one. That's the end of the paper for today. I'd recommend you look at all of the questions and write down the topics that you struggle with before you attempt another past paper. Feel free to contact me or reach out if you need any help with anything. Otherwise, just check out my channel for more walkthroughs and work solutions, including the ones from this year's set. I'll see you soon.